Good evening, everyone. It gives me almost palpable joy to be surrounded by so many people involved in the many facets of child advocacy. And it's frankly an honor to grace the stage with such inspirational leaders in this work. Almost 14 years ago, I stood in front of a similar-sized crowd and accepted the Beat the Odds Award at the CDF National Conference in Houston, Texas. At the time, I knew nothing about child advocacy or mentorship, networking, or frankly, how CDF was going to transform my future trajectory. I was just a poor inner-city kid with a lot of familial trauma and a lot of familial responsibility, and I saw education as a way out, and I was just desperately grateful for any scholarship money I could find. As a high school senior that year, the wounds from watching my father die and the regular struggle to find money to put food on the table or to pay the light bill were still very raw for me. So I started college that fall with these big goals of studying computer science and following a career path that would be financially lucrative. Because where I grew up, money was a sign that you made it and was the only point of going to college in the first place if you made it in. Thankfully, Ms. Edelman brought me to the CDF national office that next summer as an intern, which was a huge turning point for me. Now in that office, I was encircled by people that were ridiculously bright and could have been making tons of money in the corporate sector, but they were intentionally choosing professional careers in child advocacy. And now, as a high school counselor, I talk to my students all the time about the difference between a job and a meaningful career, or a vocation that was said earlier. And that summer at CDF was when that distinction really clicked for me. So I went back to Rice University the next fall and switched majors, became a sociology major, and was graced once again by interning with CDF in the Houston office. And that's where I learned how to turn my passion into fruitful action. I will always believe that education is the great equalizer for children that come from circumstances like mine. So I did go on to become a middle school teacher in Chicago in the Cabrini Green housing projects and later in the Inglewood neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. And despite all of my own rough personal experiences, that's where I learned firsthand the turmoil in a school building the day after gun violence in a neighborhood. I can't count how many times I had to put aside the lesson plans to help students cope with the daily struggle to simply survive when there's not enough food to go around, or there's no child care, so they have to stay home from school to watch younger siblings, or the young black man in my classroom on honor roll who's not active in gang life but was picked up by the police for loitering or some other such profiling nonsense, and there goes the first strike on his criminal record. My personal journey and my current work in Nashville Public Schools as a high school counselor gives me endless examples of how the tentacles of poverty impact so many other facets of life. And many of these stories are heartbreaking, but many of them highlight the resilience of children and the life-changing impact that efforts like that of CDF can have on a young life. In my office, I have that CDF poster that I got that summer in DC so many years ago, and it has a CDF motto on it. Dear Lord, be good to me. The sea is so wide and my boat is so small. I have students in my office almost every day that identify with that feeling, who feel like the turbulent waves of life are about to engulf them completely. And so for me, that motto is a reminder to keep doing the work that I do and supporting CDF in its efforts so that every child has a lifeline and support in steering their boat towards their own God-given potential. And I hope it's a reminder for you and for all of the parts that we can play in that endeavor as well. Thank you.